Welcome and good morning to all attendees for this Achievers Masterclass, Life After Launch, How to Create Connection with Your Recognition Program. Today we are joined by a number of attendees across Australia, Singapore and the UK. Thank you all for your time. My name is Grant Ilesley. I'm an enterprise account executive based out of Australia in a very sunny Melbourne today, and I will be your moderator for today's masterclass. Joining me from the Achievers team will be Emma Harvey. Emma leads a very talented team of customer success managers who support our clients across Australia and Asia. Emma is highly regarded across the Achievers business as a people leader and also as a subject matter expert across recognition and reward. People often ask me, who uses the Achievers platform and who are your clients? So here's an overview of some of our 330 plus customers, of which we have over 5 million users of our SaaS platform. And as you can see, there's some household names amongst this mix that some of you would be very familiar with. Also, this is something I'm very proud of, our customer base. So from a housekeeping perspective, today's masterclass will be 45 minutes, which will consist of valuable insights from Emma with question and answers to follow. Please post any questions you have via the Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Hopefully you can all see that, which I will address at the latter part of this masterclass. So without any further delay, let me pass you over to Emma.
Thanks, Grant. A quick overview of what you'll hear in the next 30 minutes or so. We'll start with connection in the workplace. What is it? Why is it important? And how do we create more of it? I'm going to share real examples of how our clients have leveraged their recognition program to create connection. Some of these programs launched during the pandemic. Some of these programs have been around for years and have always been considered successful programs. However, they've achieved record engagement results in the last 6 months. All of these have offline and/or remote working employees. We have some time for Q&A at the end, so I encourage you to pop your questions into the Q&A box throughout the presentation, and we'll address those in the last 10 to 15 minutes or so. I want to start with a quote from someone that I admire greatly, Brené Brown. If you're not familiar with Brené Brown, she's a well-known research professor and thought leader on human connection, and I highly recommend getting your hands on her books, listening to her TED Talks, or the many podcasts she's been a part of. She's incredibly real, and her research challenges a lot of what we know about human behaviour. Brené talks about how addressing disconnection requires a tremendous amount of courage. As human beings, we are often either making the choice to protect ourselves from conflict, discomfort, and vulnerability by staying quiet. Now more than ever, we need to reclaim authenticity and connection. When challenging times arise, it can be really meaningful to create opportunities where employees can come together and feel connected. Whether that is at an individual level or throughout a global pandemic, we need to ensure that employees feel seen, heard, and valued. The coronavirus pandemic is something that has affected us all in one way or another this year, and is something that for the first time in many decades has impacted the entire world at the same time. As the workforce continues to evolve in response to COVID-19, what employees value most in their organisation is becoming increasingly clear, which is at many times connection. It was noted in Human Resources Executive that while finding the right technology and strategy to physically transition employees from a work from home model was obviously important and is in most cases doable, where the real challenge lies has been in helping employees feel and stay connected during an extremely challenging and isolating time. In fact, the Achievers Workforce Institute just released that 1 in 3 employees do not feel as connected to their company's culture or their peers during COVID-19. In normal working conditions, Work relationships are incredibly important to employee well-being, and this is even more true when employees are not seeing one another on a day-to-day basis like they used to. Brené Brown's research shows that it is clear that face-to-face connection is imperative in our true belonging practice. Not only did face-to-face contact emerge as essential from the participant data in her research, but studies across the world confirm those findings. In a time where face-to-face connection is not possible, let's take a look at how Achievers clients around the world are using their recognition programs to drive true belonging, real connection, and real empathy. How they ensure that their employees feel seen, heard, and valued. There was a time this year, and if you're in Melbourne like me, that time still exists, where for many businesses, the majority of employees are working from home. So for my team, where previously a conversation with a client about engaging an offline audience, those that don't sit in front of a computer all day in the office, or remote employees, was reserved for certain customers, it's now every customer. Pre-COVID, research suggests that managers only see 30% of what their direct reports do each day. So how do I, as a leader, use a recognition program to ensure that employees feel seen? Often our clients have varied audiences, and in terms of how they work and the resources they need in order to be successful at their job. So while we're all experiencing the pandemic together, the reality is that how we experience things will vary. Ever since the WHO officially deemed the COVID-19 outbreak a global pandemic, companies across the financial services industry have been hit at two different levels. Not only do they have to deal with the broad business issues of maneuvering their way through a global economy that is in a major state of flux, they also have to deal with the acute day-to-day issues of recognising, motivating, and taking care of frontline employees who still have to go to work every day. As several positions in banking and finance have been deemed essential, many employers have had to find a way to keep remote employees connected, while also determining how to best maintain and remain connected to show their appreciation for frontline employees. Scotiabank, a leading bank in Canada and a leading financial services provider in the Americas, with around 100,000 employees spread across 30 countries, has been using Achievers for their employee recognition platform since 2016. Among multiple initiatives to support their employees in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, Scotiabank leveraged their recognition program by topping up points allocation in March and April for people leaders with employees in customer-facing and business-critical roles. Adding these additional points on top of their usual monthly point budget provided these managers with additional capability to recognise individuals for all their exceptional efforts in supporting their customers and each other during a challenging time. After this targeted investment, Scotiabank saw an increase across all their recognition KPIs, including a 52% year-over-year spike in the average number of recognitions sent. More than 110,000 recognitions were sent in the month of April alone. That's 110,000 times that someone had a better day and felt seen in the organisation. Co-op Financial Services, a provider of fintech solutions to credit unions with around 1,500 employees and 7 office locations, has truly embraced the mission of the credit union movement, people helping people. In collaboration with Achievers, Co-op launched the Stay Connected campaign to provide employees with resources, information, and a way to engage with each other through sharing their favourite ideas and suggestions for various activities, books, entertainment, and even recipes. Leveraging their employee newsletter to publicise the campaign, they launched the program with a dedicated feature story and published a direct link to the campaign page on the intranet. Taking it a step further, leaders and supervisors across the organisation were encouraged to recognise their team members through a special additional allocation of reward points. Locally, 2 of the Big 4 banks in Australia use their recognition programs to acknowledge frontline employees. They did this through sending recognition moments to each employee from a senior leader within the organisation to acknowledge the commitment and sacrifices employees are making to ensure business continuity and essential services for the community. Feedback, especially from branches, was incredibly positive, and that simple act generated a heap of buzz about the program. Indulge me for a moment here while I talk about my own birthday. I live in Melbourne and I live by myself, so I was facing a birthday in stage 4 lockdown with only a cat for company and in-person celebration. And if I'm completely honest, it wasn't a day that I was looking forward to because of the isolation I was feeling at a time where I'm usually surrounded by family and friends. If I was in the office, there for sure would have been cake. I probably would have gone out for lunch with colleagues and guaranteed there would have been singing. But I woke up to this as a notification on my phone. My colleagues from around the world had taken the time to write a personalised message, select an appropriate GIF, and this was the start of a really great day. Our recognition program was used to facilitate something meaningful, personal, and really special. On a day that I could have been at an all-time low, I felt seen and valued. And the singing still happened, it was just over Zoom. An important element to ensuring that your employees feel seen is to ensure that recognition is visible throughout their day. There are so many different ways to do this, and it really comes down to understanding where your employees spend their time. Displaying recognition on digital screens throughout the offices or in lunchrooms, it's a great way to ensure that recognition is front of mind. If you don't have the luxury of physical office space right now, do the same thing with your intranet. SharePoint, Yammer, Workplace by Facebook, Slack, or other communication tool to effectively serve up recognition to your employees where they're already spending their time. Integrations with tools used every day is another way to ensure your program has high frequency of recognition. If you can recognise, be recognised, and have important announcements about the program pushed straight to you in tools such as Microsoft Teams, there's less interruption to your day, and great behaviour is more visible throughout the organisation. One of our local telcos talks about how working in the retail stores is often a stepping stone to a career at head office. Many employees start in the retail environment while studying at uni. A successful career in the stores is a great way to continue a career at head office. When top performers are publicly, visibly recognised through their recognition program, they're seen by all levels of management. Imagine how employees feel when their great behaviour is recognised and then beamed through the regularly used tools such as Yammer. Regardless of location, regardless of whether or not leaders physically witness great behaviour, they're seen. It's great for mental health, and it's great for identifying top talent. The second key to connection is to ensure that employees feel heard. It's no secret that the majority, 87%, of today's workers feel disengaged in the workplace. While there are many reasons for this high level of disengagement, employee complaints about employers not listening to them certainly ranks high on the list. In fact, a recent study revealed that more than 1/3 of the workforce believes that their employers do not listen to their ideas. This is a staggering number and one that employers should not overlook. Not only can showing your workforce that you're really listening to them improve employee engagement levels, but it can also boost workplace morale, job satisfaction, and overall retention. The good news is that listening to your employees is not as difficult as you think. And what better way to do this than in a program that's already used regularly by your employees and already front of mind because you communicate regularly and create the habit of daily or weekly usage. The first step to really listening to your employees is to pave the way for them to speak. If your employees already feel like you're not listening, you cannot expect them to spontaneously come to you with ideas or concerns. According to a recent study, more than 40% of junior level workers state they're afraid to bring ideas or concerns to upper management. Your employees will never feel heard if they don't feel comfortable speaking up in the first place. You can overcome this barrier by providing a platform for them to speak. Pulse surveys can be extremely effective, especially when using an anonymous and easy to use interface, such as single-click surveys. In fact, research from the Workforce Institute 2020 Culture Report states that 77% of respondents say they will be more honest in a survey than they would with a manager. So a fast and secure way for employees to voice their opinion is a great way to improve day-to-day engagement with your team and provide you with candid feedback. But listening is only the first step. You must also take action. And this doesn't mean that you need to act on every suggestion or concern that your team has, but you should always closely evaluate what they have to say. Then, when you come across employee suggestions or concerns that call for more attention, don't just stop at listening, take action. Develop a plan that will put your employee's idea into action. Technology can help with this by delivering bite-sized personalised actions to employees and managers so that everyone is empowered to impact engagement right away. When your employees know that you're willing to make changes based on your ideas or issues they've shared, they will know that you not only want to listen to them, but you truly care about what they have to say. I think the most common piece of feedback that we get from customers when we first start talking about surveying employees for their feedback is that there's survey fatigue within the organisation. And I'd like to challenge that and say there's only inaction fatigue. It's disengaging when you provide feedback and nothing changes. However, when you experience action based on your feedback, you're motivated to provide the feedback the next time you're asked. By including a listening tool in your recognition program and consolidating your peer-to-peer, wellness, service awards, referrals, innovation initiatives, and more, you maximise your spend, increase employee participation, and leverage program analytics because all the initiatives are being driven by the same platform. Frontline employees only need to go to one place. Managers get visibility that they need on their employees' performance, and the company has reporting and return on investment insights to understand where to invest their dollars in different initiatives. One organisation that has consolidated their listening tool with their recognition program is Bay Health. Bay Health collect feedback and drive individual performance and accountability. They're a not-for-profit healthcare organisation based in the US with around 4,000 employees, and they had 3 clear objectives with their recognition program: increase transparency, implement an easy way for employees to recognise each other in the moment, and collect feedback and drive individual performance and accountability. Bay Health understood that employees wanted recognition that was in the moment, transparent, and two-way. They wanted their leaders to have insight into the outstanding work being done by all employees every day. In essence, they wanted to create connection. In addition to recognition and rewards, Bay Health leverages their program for employee surveys, their 6-month check-in for new hires, as well as to gather feedback on policy changes. Deploying these surveys through the recognition program increases the likelihood of these surveys being completed, since Bay Health's employee population is so active in the program. 84% of employees are using the program every month. As a result, Bay Health has seen some really incredible metrics. On average, each employee receives just under 4 recognitions a month. That's almost 1 every week. Bay Health launched a quarterly pulse survey to become more attentive and responsive to key indicators and drivers of engagement that continuously change when working in a stressful and fast-paced environment. Using the 15 science-based questions that make up Achiever's pulse survey, Bay Health has been able to identify not only how employees feel about their work, but also why they're feeling that way. Bay Health also implemented weekly confidential check-ins to help facilitate open dialogue among Bay Health's leaders and employees. Check-ins places control in the hands of the employees, proving them the means to share their thoughts and feedback when they need to, anytime, on any topic. Check-ins have enabled Bay Health's frontline leaders to receive timely feedback about day-to-day issues that require immediate attention, a critical concern in a patient-caring workforce. For example, in one of Bay Health's clinical departments, leaders began to see employee feedback shared through check-ins from patient caregivers who were faced with an incredibly difficult patient. These caregivers reported that caring for this patient made them feel unsafe, causing extreme stress, anxiety, unhappiness. Some team members were starting to call in sick because they didn't feel prepared to handle this patient. These team members expressed their concerns through check-ins, prompting their leaders to plan for swift action or else risk losing valuable staff. To address the feedback, leaders set up de-escalation training to help employees understand signs of patient anxiety and to guide them in how best to handle these sensitive situations. Employees felt heard and patients received better care. My final point for today is to ensure that employees feel valued. And this is where we make a distinction between a thank you, some praise, and meaningful recognition. Recognition programs that link behaviour back to the organisation's values and training on what qualities make a good recognition is the key to ensuring employees know that what they do matters. One of the most successful initiatives we've seen across multiple programs in 2020 is recognition by senior leaders to frontline workers. Both locally and globally, we've seen organisations such as our banks, telcos, and supermarkets in particular have executives and sometimes even CEOs publicly recognise all employees to ensure that they feel valued and appreciated. Bill Gosling Outsourcing is a great example of an organisation where the C-suite leads by example to encourage peer-to-peer recognition. CEO David Ray was featured in a thank you video message that was shared across their social media platforms during Employee Appreciation Week. As a result, Bill Gosling's total unique recognitions skyrocketed by 620% on their recognition platform. That said, recognition doesn't need to come from the CEO to generate this feeling, but it does need to be meaningful. A few weeks ago, I was asked to speak on a customer webinar about how the Achievers platform has been used in times of crisis, everything from the Australian bushfires to the pandemic and Black Lives Matters. My contribution was specifically about the bushfires. Imagine if I'd received this piece of recognition afterwards. Thanks for your help. I mean, it's nice, appreciation is good, but what exactly did I do that was helpful? What should I do more of? What value did I add to the project? Don't worry, we do know how to write a great recognition at Achievers. I was recognised by Nicole, who was leading the project. The recognition is aligned to our one team value, which is defined as invest in our collective success, leverage shared genius by embracing authentic, timely communication. It's specific. The great behaviour being called out is sharing my time, my words, my expertise. That's what I should do more of. That's what everyone else sees on the recognition newsfeed as a great example of one team. If recognised, 92% of employees will repeat their behaviour, and 90% of employees will be motivated to work harder, but they need to know what that behaviour is to repeat it. It's encouraging. Let's do more of this. It's personal. A GIF of koalas, very relevant to the story that I told in the webinar, and a symbol of connection that's often used in our recognition program when recognising across country borders, as in this example, which came all the way from Toronto. And finally, because recognition is transparent in our organisation, my manager sees it and my peer sees it, and they add their recognition in the comments and the likes, which only serves to make me feel more valued by more people. We know that great recognition just doesn't happen. So let's take a look at 2 customers who've leveraged the training and communication resources that we provide. In March, one of the telcos in Australia asked 20,000 employees to start working from home, and 6 months on, most remain. For an organisation whose purpose is to connect, this organisation had to reimagine the way it works so that its people and its customers can remain connected during this time apart. Recognition has played an important role, providing employees with a way to connect and a way to encourage connections. Everyday Heroes is a great example, a campaign focused on recognition, on those whose actions have kept colleagues and customers close during this time. The campaign ran for 4 weeks and generated over 3,000 recognition moments. Recognitions that have surfaced stories of resilience, support, and customer focus. Recognitions that have demonstrated the value employees deliver to the community, their colleagues, and their organisation each and every day. Coborn's, a growing retail and grocery company with 8,000 employees in the US, have been using the Achievers platform to recognise and reward their workforce since 2015. As tensions began to rise in the early days of the pandemic, Coborn's used the announcements feature within their Achievers program to share a thank you message from their CEO to all employees. Announcements is a feature that's displayed front and centre on a program's homepage and allows customers to communicate important information and updates across the company through their recognition program. With the ability to have these announcements trigger push notifications, this feature is especially effective for reaching offline employees. Coborn's knew that showing their employees that they are valued for the hard work they are doing for their communities and the business would have a big impact on morale and performance. They also understood that thanking their employees would help to nurture a culture of recognition when employees needed it most, and it worked. After the onset of the pandemic, Coborn saw a 185% increase in recognition moments from the previous month. During the pandemic, their recognition and communication efforts increased even further, and the impact was immediate. 7 announcements generated almost 4,000 likes and over 10,000 comments in the program. Coborn's continues to share written and video updates and good news stories as told by their frontline workers through their recognition program. It adds a bright spot to an otherwise difficult time and helping to keep their workforce engaged and feeling valued. Now, bringing it back to Brené Brown, just before we get into the Q&A. The stories I've shared today all come back to this quote: ensuring employees feel seen, heard, and valued. The employees at the organisations mentioned have had their great work recognised, amplified throughout the organisation, and they know it matters because it's linked back to the values of the organisation. They feel heard because the feedback they gave was actioned in a timely manner. Employees identified problems and their managers helped solve them. And they feel valued because their leaders and their peers are connecting them authentically and in a way that is personal and meaningful to them. Now, Grant, I believe we have a few minutes left for questions, so fire away.
We do indeed. Thanks, Emma. I particularly enjoy the feel seen, feel heard, feel valued messaging. And also the other point, very relevant to today, is let employees speak. So I appreciate questions that have been raised by the attendees. Thank you. I'm conscious of time, so I may not get through all of those. So let me raise some of these to begin with. So Emma, what are the top 3 tips for quick wins in sustaining the momentum of a program post-launch?
So I think the first would be SLT engagement. So ensuring that your CEO is supportive of the program, that they are active in the program, they have a profile picture, they're actively engaging on the newsfeed, and they're recognising employees. And then the SLT around them, so that they are advocates for the program and they're leading by example. The second would be a solid communication plan. And that needs to encompass a variety of channels, a variety of audiences, and be tailored to those audiences, and ensure that you're delivering communications and the great messages through the program throughout the year. And then the third is business alignment. So ensuring that your program is aligned to the objectives of the business and the initiatives that are going on within the business. So whether that be a focus on safety or a focus on sustainability, that your platform, your program, and the initiatives within your program are supportive of all those other things going on in the organization, because they're going to create conversation, they're going to create a focus on the program and ensure that it's front of mind without you as the program owners having to do all the heavy lifting all the time.
Sure, and I certainly during your presentation you mentioned about values aligned back to the business as well, and particularly recognition. So yes, certainly that strong point of business alignment as well, and behaviours. Thank you. Second question that was raised: how often should one communicate to keep the program fresh and relevant?
Well, I think this depends on the organisation, but I'd say weekly. But this doesn't have to mean sending out emails every week. What we mean by communication is conversation in town halls, it's company newsletters, it's mentions on social platforms such as Yammer or Workplace by Facebook, whatever it is that you use. We typically recommend a monthly campaign where you've got a targeted campaign with a specific message, but the ad hoc communication through the existing channels every week is what's going to keep your program healthy, front of mind, and ensuring that it's relevant to the business.
Okay. Thank you. Another question was, how do you encourage innovation and continuous engagement after introducing the new program?
Yeah, I'm going to say it again, but alignment to business. Ensuring that you're using your recognition program to amplify your business initiatives through the program. For example, recognise the people who are leading the way with D&I initiatives. We see some programs rewarding the winners of a step challenge with points through the program. So whatever else you have going on in your business, ensure that it's tied back to your program. One that we use ourselves at Achievers, we are drinkers of our own Kool-Aid, shall we say, is we use our platform for Achievers Cares, which is one of our employee resource groups, designed to support the community, and so we facilitate donations through the platform. We have an integration with thousands and thousands of charities, and we use our program to facilitate donations from our employees, and then sometimes the business will match those as well, depending on the initiative. Secondly is to adopt new features. As an example, if you already use celebrations for milestones such as years of service or birthdays, as I shared earlier, add in custom cards so you can celebrate important events such as weddings, babies, farewells, and welcomes. we take a crawl, walk, run approach to recognition, and that is, don't launch everything at the same time. Start with social recognition, add in points-based recognition, add in awards, add in years of service, and do each of those over a defined period, and plan that in advance so that your program's fresh. You've got reasons to communicate, you've got reasons to create excitement on a regular basis, and you're also adopting the newest features as they come out without overwhelming employees with all these new things to learn and figure out on day one. So I think adding those program features periodically is the key to keeping a program fresh over its lifetime.
Sure, and you certainly highlighted it with your own experience, or your own personal experience with the birthday card and the impact that that had on you, the morning that you logged in of your birthday, and to have that feedback. So, no, thank you for that. Um, I hope that has provided you all a valuable insight into how to create connection with your recognition program and your employees. As a follow-up, you can expect an email from Achievers with your questions answered, and also a link to today's recording. I should also mention we have an upcoming webinar next week, the 9th of October, which is focused around engaging in the new normal. Who is responsible? So on behalf of Emma, myself and the Achievers team, I appreciate your time today. And everybody on the call, please keep well, keep safe, and thank you.